Hello everybody, so I was looking forward to the Steam machine to use as a simple living room PC, but it sounds like it's very likely to be expensive due to the memory shortages going on. So I was hoping it would be under $600, but it's starting to sound too good to be true. In the meantime, I decided to make my own Steam machine using an old Alienware Alpha that I bought years ago. So ironically, this used to be one of the original Steam machines when it didn't do too well back then. It won't be anywhere near the performance the new Steam machine is supposed to have, but it'll be good enough to play a lot of the older games on my backlog, as well as newer lightweight indie games. Currently it's running Windows 10 and it starts up in Steam Big Picture mode when it logs in, so I can control most of it with the controller, but I found that I still have to use the keyboard and mouse more often than I'd like. Steam OS will hopefully feel much better as a living room PC as it's designed to use mostly a controller. This setup procedure should be the same for most PCs, so follow along if you want to make your own Steam machine. Valve's official SteamOS doesn't currently have good hardware support, so I'll be using Bazzite, which is very similar and supports more hardware. What you'll need for setup is the PC that you're converting, a monitor, a keyboard, a mouse, and a USB drive that's at least 16 gigabytes. Make sure there's nothing important on it as it will be completely erased later. I'll be doing the USB drive setup on a Mac, but it's the same process on a Windows PC or Linux PC. So let's go to the Bazzite website to download the ISO file you'll be putting on the USB drive. Head to the Download Bazzite section and choose the hardware you'll be using. Most likely it'll be desktop here. Choose your GPU. So my Alienware Alpha has an NVIDIA GTX 860M, which isn't listed, but I've read that it works with the one here labeled for the 9XX series. The NVIDIA GPUs also don't support Steam gaming mode, which means it'll have to boot into the Bazzite desktop before you go into Steam. That's no problem. I'll go through how to set it up so it'll automatically load Steam and opens Big Picture mode on startup. The desktop environment I'll be using is KDE since it's similar to what's on SteamOS. I'll start downloading the ISO and we'll go download Etcher, which we'll use to burn the ISO to a USB drive. So Etcher has versions for Windows, Mac, and Linux, so download the one that you need and install it. Plug in your USB drive to the PC or Mac you're currently using and start up Etcher. I already had it installed, so I'll start it up now. This is what Etcher will look like. Once you finish downloading the Bazzite ISO, click on Flash from File and look for the ISO file. Select the target and make sure it's the USB drive you want to use and click Flash. You might get some security prompts verifying whether you can write to the drive. You can just click through those. Depending on the speed of your USB drive and port, it could take a while to flash, and then it'll validate to make sure everything was written correctly. So once that's done, unplug the drive and put it into the desktop you're going to convert to a Steam machine. You'll have to go into the BIOS or the boot menu of your desktop. It'll be different depending on the brand or motherboard, so you'll have to look that one up for yourself. For this Alienware is F12, so I'll mash that once I start it up. Now this part is important if you don't want to run into an issue later. Make sure you have the secure boot off. So I already had it off on this PC, but there should be a setting in the BIOS to turn it off if you've never done that previously. You may also have to change the boot order in the BIOS so that the USB drive boots first, unless you have a boot menu like here where you can choose which drive to boot from. I'm going to choose to boot from the USB drive. If you did everything correctly, you should be able to choose to install Bazzite. It took a while for it to load from my USB drive, but it'll eventually start showing a lot of test text and boot into the welcome menu. Head into installation destination so you can choose what drive to install on. I want the maximum amount of space to use, so click the drive and then click the check mark to free up space by removing and shrinking all partitions. Click done and it'll ask for confirmation about all the partitions you'll be deleting, which is exactly what I want. Head to user creation next and you can fill this out however you like. Once you're done, hit begin installation and just wait. There were certain parts of this install that took a long time and I thought that there was something that went wrong, but just be patient and it'll just continue eventually. I think it helps to have a fast USB drive and a USB port, but this Alienware Alpha is like 10 years old, so it's going to be kind of slow. Anyway, once it's complete, you click on Reboot System and wait so it'll go through some initial setup. If you get to this perform MOK management screen and you made sure to turn off secure boot earlier, you can just hit continue boot. Now if you didn't turn off secure boot, there's a way to get past this part, but I won't go through it in this video. But you can do a Google search for Bazzite MOK and it'll walk you through it. Now Grub will load, which is an operating system loader. Just choose Bazzite. It'll go through some initial setup and then eventually you'll get to a Grub screen again, and this time with 2 Bazzites. Just choose the first one or it'll automatically choose for you when the timer runs out. Both the MOK management screen and the Grub screen shouldn't load in any subsequent boots, so you shouldn't see them anymore. Okay, it's loaded, so type in your password to log in, and in a moment I'll also walk you through how to disable the password check so it'll seamlessly log in, which is much better for a living room PC. Let's remove the Bazzite installer USB now. You can save this to reinstall if something goes wrong later. Now click on Steam and log into your account to make sure everything's working there. We're going to set it up so that it starts up in big picture mode automatically when the PC boots. It might open in the background after you log in, so you can click on the taskbar Steam icon and bring up Steam. Head to settings and then interface, and make sure run when my computer starts is checked, and also check start Steam in big picture mode. And then you can close out of Steam. Now let's turn off the password check when booting. Click the Bazzite icon and go to System and look for System Settings. Do a search for login and you should see login screen. Click on the behavior button and in here you can checkmark the automatically login. You'll see a big warning box, but this is for KDE Wallet, which you won't really have to use if you're using this only for gaming on Steam. Hit apply and punch in the password you set up for the system. Click out of there, shut it down, and we'll give it a test run. Basically, if everything's done correctly, it should load into the desktop without the password login screen. Then it should open up Steam and launch big picture mode. So if everything worked, you should be here in big picture mode once everything loads. So I'll load up Vampire Survivor since it's small and easy to install and make sure everything's working. So I still have my keyboard and mouse attached, but you shouldn't need it for anything now. You can get a controller, hook it up, and everything should work with that. You can also enter Steam settings to make sure your hardware is being detected correctly. This Alienware Alpha is pretty ancient, but everything is working fast and smooth. I did notice after filming this that my sleep function doesn't work, which is disappointing. Or at least it seems to sleep, but then it doesn't wake from sleep. I was hoping it was going to have a nice suspend capability like the Steam Deck does, but if someone figures out how to set that up, please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and bye.